Welcome back. Let's check in with the people where HRH Angelique says, from your show today, Will, Mom Donnie isn't authentic. Same as Newsom. Mom Donnie's smiling at everything, wanting to tax the rich when he himself comes from money and not having specific enough answers while claiming he has the solutions. Nothing about him is authentic. What I would ask Angelique is this. Do you think that Stalin stood in the breadlines with the masses? You see, I think we come to think as authenticity as a virtue, and a virtue in and of itself. We all love authenticity, but it's simply the first hurdle on the path to the ultimate judgment. One could authentically be an a-hole. It's just about what exposes you after we see what is real. You don't think Mom Donnie believes what he says? You don't think he's authentically a socialist? See, I do, and I think that's why we sound the alarm about what is real. The fact that it comes packaged with a smile means nothing about whether or not Mao ultimately ate with the masses, or Stalin really truly loved the proletariat. Mom Donnie is authentically a socialist. Now to this. A big HR organization is catching heat for inviting conservative activist Robby Starbuck to speak. SHRM is hosting its annual inclusion conference tomorrow, and Starbuck was included in the lineup. But many HR professionals backed out. Some even canceled their membership to the HR organization. One consultant who canceled said, "I had friends who are not white call me crying. Like this is just one more slap in the face." Starbuck, who has been outspoken against DEI, is set to take the stage with CNN's Van Jones for a moderated debate. And we reached out to SHRM. They said if someone is not interested in convening of people to discuss diverse viewpoints, this is probably not the right conference for them. We respect that. By convening leaders from across the political, cultural, and business spectrum, we aim to broaden understanding, spark innovation, and drive actionable solutions for an inclusive workplace. They also dispute that people are canceling memberships. But critics say it's a betrayal to the organization's commitment to diversity and inclusion. Joining me now is the man at the center of all of this. It's Heritage Foundation visiting fellow Robby Starbuck. Robby, I think this is a really fascinating rebellion, in that it raises the question whether or not DEI initiatives and really honestly identity politics is a top-down driven enterprise or one where basically the tail wags the dog. Here you have a conference that wants to include you and have the debate, but the attendees, they're the ones offended by the potential of hearing your opinion.
Well, yeah, you know, Will, I think it actually says everything that this small group of very vocal people who pretend to be big supporters of DEI have spent the last month trying to get me canceled, while at the same time pretending that they're the biggest fans ever of diversity and inclusion. I hope that irony is not lost on anybody. Again, and by the way, you know, that Wall Street Journal story, this was one of my favorite things. They do this story and it has that quote that you read at the beginning of, you know, this person's non-white friends crying. That's the quote. First of all, I've never referred to any of my friends as non-white. I just refer to them as my friends. But secondly, when you look at the comments of that story, something incredible has happened over the last 4 years. 4 years ago, people would have been terrified to comment on that story because the big, scary, woke people were coming after them, right? Today, 99.9%, it was the most common story on the Wall Street Journal. 99.9% of the people replying were in full support of me and what I have done in corporate America to eliminate wokeness and DEI policies. Right. So that says everything, right? And there's still a whole lot of normal people going to this conference. We're expecting well over 1,000 people at the conference for the debate, and I'm happy to be doing it.
Well, I think it also says something that they invited you. Good for the organization that they invited you. I can't imagine that have happened 5 years ago. But I do think your work is cut out for you. You know, I think like, you know, psychology and HR, those are going to, education, those are the last three bastions of DEI and woke identity politics. And you're walking right into the lion's den. So best of luck to you there, Robby Starbuck. I do want to ask you about this other story that is involving you, and that's you suing Google over false AI information. This is pretty amazing. So the Google AI, according to your lawsuit, did as follows. It portrayed you, among other things, as a child rapist, a serial sexual abuser, convicted of assault, one who engages in financial exploitation, one who engages in black ops, such as illegal campaign finance practice, and that you are a shooter, I guess. Google says, by the way, this is all due to hallucinations within its AI, and hallucinations are a well-known issue for all large language models. Which we disclose and work hard to minimize. But as everyone knows, if you're creative enough, you can prompt a chatbot to say something misleading. But look, hallucinations are what? It's false. That's what matters. And, I assume you're suing them for defamation, Robby. Whether or not it's malice, it's a reckless disregard for the truth with a real cost to your reputation.
Absolutely. And I think the malice is proven by the fact that they were notified in 2023, and this is continuing still today. In fact, we received one today of it accusing me of sexual assault. And as for the second part of their statement, they say, well, if you get creative enough with the prompts, you can get AI to say anything. Well, first of all, that's a product problem. But secondly, in our case, we released the full chat logs and prompts to many of these things. And they're as simple as saying, hey, give me a bio on Robby Starbuck, or hey, tell me about Robby Starbuck. We had third-party people. I had somebody come up to me and ask me if these accusations were true. So people are reading and believing these things. That's very dangerous, And so for us, if you think about that time period, 2 years, they've had to fix this, right? That's beyond negligence. That's pure malice at that point. And even if it's born from negligence, it's malicious. I mean, any company, we're talking about the fourth largest company on earth. You can fix this in that time period. And honestly, you should be able to fix it within 24 hours. This is something that can't happen in elections. And so I had to put my foot down, file this lawsuit. And the line for me was when it started saying that I was accused of crimes against children, it was like, I can't sit by and hope Google's going to do the right thing. I have to file a suit to protect my reputation before this goes any further.
As well, you should. Look, you're a public figure, so that's why we keep bringing up the standard of malice. In a defamation case, it doesn't have to be malice, by the way. It can be reckless disregard for the truth as well. So it doesn't even have to rise to pure malice. But, I don't think you can offload those motivations simply because it's AI when you have a defective product that has this type of potential harm. So we'll be watching how this one shakes out, Robby. Best of luck. Thanks for telling us today.
Thank you. Final joke. AOC, Bernie, and Mamdani walk in a bar. Who pays for it for the drinks?
Is there a punchline, or is that the end of the joke?
Taxpayers. That's who pays for it.
Taxpayers.
Have a good day, Will.
See you, man. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.